Well, mention the Goodman brothers, and many in Madison, of course, think of the baseball diamond, the community center, and, of course, the pool.
Erwin and Robert Goodman are the greatest philanthropists Madison has ever known, and they will influence our city for generations to come. Author and Wisconsin State Journal columnist Doug Moe is here with his new book, Good Men. Welcome back to Live.
Good to see you, Doug.
Good to be here.
Congratulations.
Thanks very much.
First of all, terrific title.
Yeah, that was actually kind of easy to come up with, I thought, but yeah, it works.
And why'd you set off on writing this?
I, actually was invited by the Goodman Foundation, which has continued to, they left a considerable foundation behind, and they had resisted. This was interesting. I spoke at Rotary last week, and Dave Molinoff, the historian, came up to me and he said, the last few years of their lives, I tried so hard to get them to cooperate on a book, and they wouldn't do it.
They were notoriously private people.
Right. So they die, within 9 months of each other in 09 and 10. And the foundation, I think they debated whether Bob and Erwin want this, but in the end they thought having their legacy, having the story told was a good thing. So.
Well, whenever we talk about them as a duo. You rarely think of them individually, as individuals. What do we know about each individual man? One was an extrovert and one was an introvert.
Yeah,
they did have some differences.
They did. I found that their images pretty much seemed to be the way they really were, and you hit it, Susan. Erwin was sort of the more studious. At the jewelry store, he was the behind-the-scenes guy. He kept the books. Bob was very much a glad-hander in a good way. He was out in front of the store, had an incredible memory for names, told bad jokes. But of course, at their core, they were quite similar too. They'd had this incredible feeling for philanthropy that they had gotten from their mom up in St. Paul, where they grew up. And so different, yet quite the same.
Mm-hmm. What did you learn that you didn't know?
I think, Mark, the real dynamic of the brotherly love, if you will. I mean, I knew that they were close. They lived together in a small apartment, by the way, on Wilson Street. They lived pretty frugally. Their one extravagance was a huge TV because they love sports, And in fact, Bo Ryan did the foreword for our book. Bo met him back in the 70s. But I interviewed a couple people who they would go to Brewers games. They would drive them. The Goodmans didn't like to drive, so they'd drive them. On the way down, one of the brothers would be in the back, and this was the Durzons, Gordon and Gail, who told me this. One of the brothers would be in the back with Gail, say Erwin. He spent the whole drive down telling Gail how great a guy Bob was. Well, on the way back, you got the other brother in the back, and what he says is, "Isn't my brother the best guy in the world?" So I don't know. I guess I knew that going in, but it was, the depth of it was pretty remarkable.
And where do you think they got this philanthropy? You mentioned from their mother, Belle. You think that was the foundation of it?
I do. I found that she was up in St. Paul, and then the parents moved down here and lived with them on Gilman Street, which was their apartment before Wilson Street. And she was committed to every service organization, every charity, and really went out of her way to say, this is, not knowing, maybe how much money they were going to have in the end, but said this is what you have to do no matter how much you have,
Their legacy will live on for generations.
It could be a history textbook.
So? Yeah.
It really could be.
Good Men is the name of the book. Doug Moe, the author. Great Christmas gift.
Can I say quick that I'm going to be at Mystery to Me on Saturday on Monroe Street at 7 o'clock talking about the book, kind of a launch event. So.
A little signing.
Thanks, you guys.
All right, thanks, Doug.
Good to see you. Merry
Thanks
Christmas.
a lot. You bet.